NASCAR had the evidence, they had the radio traffic, they had the data, and they still let it slide. Shane van Gisbergen wrecked a playoff contender on purpose and walked away with nothing. 0 fine, 0 points, 0 consequences. Meanwhile, another driver got hammered with 50 grand and 25 points for doing basically the same thing months earlier. So what changed? That's the question tearing through the NASCAR community right now, and nobody at the sanctioning body wants to give a straight answer. Here's what went down at Chicagoland during Sunday's Euro 400. Shane van Gisbergen turned Austin Hill, wrecking his car early in the race. Hill wasn't having it. Before he even parked the mangled machine in the garage, he swung the door open into SVG's Chevy under caution, a clear message shot, delivered in front of everyone. Team owner Richard Childress wasn't pleased either. This wasn't a quiet, internal issue. This blew up publicly. NASCAR reviewed both moments. The verdict? Nothing. No penalties for van Gisbergen. No penalties for Hill. The sports insiders confirmed it. This one was getting brushed aside. Now, here's where it gets messy. Reporting indicates NASCAR actually had proof this wasn't a racing incident. Telemetry data, radio communication, the kind of evidence that, in another situation, was enough to end a driver's week and drain his bank account. That's exactly what happened to Ryan Preece earlier this year. Preece intentionally put Ty Gibbs into the wall at Texas. NASCAR came down on him hard, $50,000, 25 points gone. The deciding factor was his radio chatter beforehand, where he vented about Gibbs' erratic driving right before making contact. Sound familiar? Fans are drawing a straight line between these two situations and asking why one driver got crushed while another got a pass, even with similar proof sitting on the table. Let's break down why this ruling actually matters beyond just one angry fan base. NASCAR's officiating philosophy has always leaned on a simple idea. They don't speculate, they act on hard proof. Dale Earnhardt Jr. echoed exactly that logic on his podcast, explaining that the sanctioning body avoids assuming intent unless they have something concrete to point to. The problem is, according to sources close to the situation, they reportedly did have something concrete this time. So if the standard is we only punish when we're sure, and they claim to be sure, inconsistency becomes the story. There's also a deeper layer here. NASCAR competition executive Elton Sawyer reportedly defended Hill's retaliation as an emotional, human reaction, even suggesting he'd have done the same thing himself as a driver decades ago. That's a fascinating admission. It signals NASCAR may be shifting toward officiating based on context and intent, rather than rigid rulebook enforcement. On one hand, that's more human. On the other hand, it's dangerously unpredictable for the garage. If drivers can't reliably guess what crosses the line, you get more chaos, not less, because everyone starts testing the boundary themselves. That's the real risk. Inconsistent enforcement doesn't calm tempers on pit road, it escalates them. The reaction has been loud, and it's split into two clear camps. One side is furious, calling this a blatant double standard that protects certain drivers while punishing others for nearly identical actions. They're pointing directly at the Preece situation as the receipt. The other side, including respected voices like Dale Jr., is defending the league's cautious approach, arguing that acting without airtight public proof sets an even worse precedent. Both sides agree on one thing, though. Nobody thinks this conversation is over. So where does this go from here? Two paths. Best case. NASCAR uses this moment to clearly define what actually triggers a penalty going forward. Transparency calms the storm, drivers get clarity, and the sport moves on stronger for it. Worst case, this becomes the moment drivers stop trusting the officiating booth altogether. If garages believe the rulebook bends based on who's involved, you'll start seeing more retaliation, more short tempers, and eventually a much bigger wreck that forces NASCAR's hand in a way they can't control. So I want to know, did NASCAR get this right, or did they just prove the rulebook only applies to some drivers? Drop your take in the comments. Are they protecting the sport or protecting favorites? If you want the real breakdown on every rules controversy this season, make sure you're subscribed, because this conversation is far from finished.